Welcome to Inside the Force. I'm Greg Grunberg, a.k.a. Snap Wexley.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with me, Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Got a lots normal to talk about again, normally like we do. All kinds of Star Wars things happening. A lot of good stuff from the streaming service, as well as the start of episode 9. So, to the news.
Today, I mean, it's the little things of the movie, pretty much. I mean, we're in episode 9 territory now. They started filming, I believe, it's August 1st.
That's
I
right.
think is the first day. So I mean, who knows what they're doing right now? I don't know. So excited to think about
Well, they're almost a week in.
But Abrams posted he's on Twitter now. First of all.
He is on, Instagram, right?
Instagram, both.
Oh, both?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see his Twitter.
I think it's probably the same handle. I can't remember. But
Yeah.
he's on the social webs now, finally. Thank goodness. But so he tweeted, instead of doing his like normal letter we did for the 7, he did a photo. He talked about Carrie Fisher, but he has a photo of, people have nitpicked the crap out of this. I haven't read if they found anything too shocking or revealing, but it looks like they're filming the Falcon.
Yes.
And I could pretty much see Finn in the shot, but I hear you can see Chewbacca. I haven't looked at it again to really tell.
Yeah, Chewbacca's right there.
Chewbacca, and then
Rey.
And Rey, yeah. So probably Rey, right?
Yeah, I would think it's
I
right.
would think it's she's piloting it, but so pretty interesting, very very cool. And I just saw a tweet today from the man who puppeteers BB-8, and I need to pull up his name again. Basically, there's today or this morning they're shooting BB-8. He's filming.
Wow.
Who is this guy? I mean, let me find his name again. I forgot. It's Brian.
I love how
something.
the camera has the Roman numerals 7
It did.
and 9 on
Yeah,
it.
so I guess it's like the exact same camera.
I
that
guess.
they used.
Probably.
Pull it back out.
I would totally guess it
So
would be.
Brian Herring at Brian Heza, he's the puppeteer for BB-8. He says first shooting day for the little guy. So excited to be rolling once again with at J.J. Abrams and all the gang far, far away. Here's to a fantastic shoot. So BB-8 is.
If I remember correctly, he shot film, right? He's shooting film on these things,
He
right?
did for 7.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the same camera, then yeah, I guess he's still doing film.
Yeah.
Very exciting, very cool. I mean, for episode 9, the only other very interesting things, I mean, we already knew that Abrams was going to be using bits of Carrie Fisher unused footage from episode 7. Well, we hear also from someone a part of the film that he'll also be using scenes of Carrie Fisher from Last Jedi, which makes sense.
Yes.
I'm still holding on. I mean, to my belief that it's going to be mostly flashbacks. I mean, well, I'm kind of leaning more towards what everybody else is thinking probably now, because episode 8 unused footage to me is easier to place probably in episode 9's like kind of current timeline, and maybe try to find a way to work her footage in without doing flashbacks. But still, I think I still think it's mostly going to be flashbacks. But
yeah, so I refreshed my memory a little bit in the car whenever listening to our last episode about, because you're pretty stuck, convinced that this is her stuff's only going to be flashback, right?
I mean, it seems like I would think most of it, if not all of it, is.
Okay, so I don't, and then I remember, so I asked you on the show too, what about Luke? And you think Luke is Force Ghost.
Yes.
See, I'm actually starting to lean towards the fact that he might be flashback as well.
That would be very upsetting.
I know, but
Why would you have that theory?
but then I started thinking, like, flashback. I don't know how you do Luke as a flashback, except I mean, it would be obviously before he isolated himself, right? It'd be that's why I was thinking whether or not it's flashback with timed with Leia, but then it's like, wow, that would be difficult.
That was one of the fan kind of hopes, the fan theories out there that it's somehow they are incorporating Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Han Solo.
I know
in a flashback scene.
If he could bring Han back, that would be.
Well, I would almost think that they.
I mean, Harrison
back.
back.
Yeah, they're not doing CGI because I was thinking that'd be so cool if they did younger mocap, younger versions of them. It would be so awesome. I'd be so for that. But
you can go back as far as just like whenever he takes Ben. That time when he's.
See, but like when you are creating, because I don't think they shot those kind of scenes.
I don't think so either.
So to me, it's very hard to imagine them pulling Carrie Fisher from scenes from Force Awakens and Last Jedi, and then placing her in new scenes that have new context and new plot lines. It's totally possible. I'm sure if they find the right clips, it's very generic enough dialogue, shots, whatever. But to me, it's just like it makes more sense that it's flashbacks. And
so, do you think she's dead then when the movie starts?
I think to me that makes sense. If they push it for like 5 years later, 5 or 7 years later, she passed away. Yeah. She's just passed away, and then that legacy ripples through the film and affects these characters. That's how it may be emotional. I mean, it's going to be her movie anyways, so you can still whatever impact she was going to have in the original draft. To become her movie, this can still be her movie. It's just more so memorializing her and then her being present. You could have the ramifications through Kylo Ren and how he feels about his mother passing, and then they have Rey and Poe because they both have. I mean, we didn't see it too much with Rey and Leia. We got a little bit more in Last Jedi, thankfully, but enough there where I think constitutes they have a close relationship. And they also obviously feel Luke through the Force in the same way. They have that kind of Force connection there, but. I see it as flashbacks.
Yeah, and I don't see Luke if he's Force Ghost. Like I don't actually see him showing up much,
really,
until towards the end. I don't know.
If I was,
because the problem is you can't make it. You can't bring him. I mean that was the kind of the overall. Well, wasn't that the overall fear somewhat of making Mark Hamill or Luke this ultimate Jedi? Is that where if there's no conflict, if he's so powerful and he can just end everything, there's no struggle, there's no conflict, and the character is kind of above everybody else, in a sense, which I guess that's what everybody kind of wanted.
Yeah.
But Ryan obviously did what he did. But this one again, if this is Carrie's movie in a sense, but you're still going to be that. You still got to focus on the main character still a lot, right?
Right. Yeah.
Kylo and Rey. So I think Luke takes still a pretty big back seat to all that, and maybe is there when the final reveal of all these Force ghosts are there. I don't know. An interesting thing I heard on. Oh, was it? Did I hear it on or see it on a thread, or I heard it on a show? I think I might have heard it on Full of Sith. They were talking about. Oh man, they were talking about. Totally going on a tangent here. They're talking about Force ghosts and how. Oh, here it was. Okay, so the question was someone posed, I think, a question through Twitter or something like that, and they mentioned how Anakin, becomes a Force ghost, which kind of throws everybody off a little bit now that they've established that you have to learn to do this. Not everybody becomes a Force ghost. And the question got posed. Somebody mentioned that, actually, I think it was Brian Young on Full Sith. He's like, it's not really known, technically, it's not really known whether or not Anakin's body was in the Vader costume when it was getting burned.
No.
Because maybe it disappeared and he was just burning, the remnants. But I thought about that and I was like, well, then he would have disappeared on
it's always been
base of that
immediate.
shuttle.
Yeah, it's
right?
always been immediate.
Yeah.
You see his suit fall to pieces. I feel
Correct.
like, you know,
And so I don't think he disappeared.
Yeah.
And then the question was, well, and I think this question got posed also was, you know, the reasoning behind replacing Hayden at the end. And I think Lucas's explanation was that years ago was that he returns back to his self when he was with the lights. The last time he was basically with the light side, that's what he looked like.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But then also, if everybody doesn't know, I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, but in a certain point of view, didn't we learn that you can basically come back any form you want?
Yeah. It sounds like you can choose once you have enough time to gain that kind of power in the afterlife of the Force, because that's exactly what Qui-Gon did.
Right.
He's like, I basically chose the form that he would recognize me in, kind of a thing, which is his normal form. But
right.
No, yeah, which George Lucas's thing still makes sense. It's I would see it as Anakin chose to come back as young Anakin because that was when he was fully good.
Yes.
And that would make sense to me.
Yeah, because I mean, just shortly after that, he was all burnt up and everything.
Yeah,
he wouldn't. The person that was at the end of Return of the Jedi in the original, he was never in that form.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because he never looked like that.
Yep.
So technically, he had always looked like Hayden.
Yeah.
So that would make complete sense to me. But anyway.
Absolutely.
All right, continue.
I still think he's going to be in it. He's got to be in it.
Hayden?
Come on.
God, I know.
Give him whatever money he wants.
That's how you talked about linking the prequels. You bring Hayden back, you bring Ewan back. You put them as
everybody.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Take my money.
Yeah, here you go. Well, for the movies, that's pretty much it. There's a lot of stuff with shows and books and everything out there.
Yep. Which we can get into a little bit. I do. So there's some news out there about Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
A lot. If you haven't Googled it, the pictures constantly going up as far as the layout, and it is truly taking shape now. It's pretty unbelievable. There's recently, is just a couple weeks ago in mid-July, that there's posts, and someone saw a spaceship spotted, the first one kind of almost fully built, and it looks like the shuttle that is in episode 3, I think. I think it's in episode 3. It's the one or episode 2. It's the one where the Dooku takes and the Trade Federation take when they're escaping Geonosis. I think that's the shuttle. It kind of looks like that.
Similar, yeah.
It doesn't have just has a big fin on the top. Doesn't have any wings or anything. But yeah, that place is coming together. It looks incredible. I'm going in October.
So huge.
And I'll be able to see. Apparently, people are taking pictures of it as they're on the Slinky Dog.
Oh, you can see.
You can see it. Yeah. So we got fast passes on Slinky Dog.
I'm thinking that's Hollywood Studios, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I doubt you can see it from Tower of Terror.
No.
You can see the front.
Well, you can probably see it further away.
Behind you, though, right? It's back.
I don't know.
Behind the parks.
It's behind the back of it. Yeah. But high enough you can at least see it. Yeah, you'd be able to see some of it.
So excited.
But people are on Slinky Dog taking, like, they're right there next to it. Slinky Dog's like right next to it.
There are some other rides, I remember, with that you do go high enough. It's in other parks, but you do go high enough to where you can see other parks. Like, I think
Epcot,
Expedition Everest.
Yeah, that's
to the highest.
That's too far.
I feel like you can see at least Magic Kingdom though from there. But I'm
that's pretty far. Magic Kingdom. You can Epcot
ride where you can
Epcot's
see.
right. Basically, there's like a big parking lots that separate Epcot and Hollywood Studios, but there's nothing high in
outdoor.
Epcot.
Yeah, nothing high and outdoor.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
climb on
it's
top
pretty
of
incredible.
that big globe.
Anyway, that's again set to open in Orlando late fall next year, summertime in California in Disneyland. Galaxy's Edge, which is Batu. Black Spire Outpost. For those of you reading
huge.
Thrawn Alliances, takes place there. I did want to mention Star Wars number 52, which I am not caught up on Star Wars, the comics right now. I'm actually, I started reading them again because I got caught up on the Vader series. I read through the Thrawn series. I am now catching up with Star Wars before I tackle Poe again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm on 35 or 36. And apparently at 52, I went ahead and spoiled myself because I was like, I wanted to hear what the ruckus was. But anyway, spoilers out there for anybody not, but I thought it was pretty neat, everybody talking about. In Star Wars 52, we get the origin of the Rogue Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
And
Cool.
It is, spoilers, skip. It is directly tied to Rogue One.
So they've gone back and
Yeah,
Cool.
and it comes from, which is really cool, it comes from Luke.
Mm-hmm.
He mentions
Mm-hmm.
he mentions Jyn Erso,
Mm-hmm.
them being, who they were and what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we need a squadron name. He's like, all right, Rogue Squadron.
There's no Rogue
Base.
Squadron.
Yeah. So
There is now.
So the Rogue Squadron was a direct
Cool.
link
It all
from
comes
Rogue One.
together.
Yes. Let's see. New comics basically coming this week. The Unbelievable Vader series, which is number 19, written by Charles Soule. If anybody didn't see it, it's really neat. I was retweeting it out today. It's kicking off the Vader Fortress arcs,
Right.
like how he finds the fortress on Mustafar,
Mm-hmm.
and the cover. He said, I wanted to dedicate it to A New Hope. So the cover, if anybody see it, it's Vader holding the lightsaber, very similar to.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No, Palpatine behind
It
him.
was
That's funny.
Palpatine behind him.
Such a creepy face.
And he put it right next to
Yeah.
the original poster.
Nice. That's pretty funny. His legs look weird.
I know.
It's like skinny little legs.
Yeah, but it's got the same. It's like Luke's.
Yeah.
But I tweeted out like father, like son.
Yeah.
There it is. But it's pretty cool. Vader 19 is coming out this week. Check that out. I'm caught up on that. It is an unbelievable series. Okay, so the big kind of rumored news coming out, nothing from Star Wars.com,
Right.
but a lot of stuff coming out about the streaming service. One thing is a proposed price, apparently.
Right. They came out with actually prices for different shows, like for movies that are coming out, not Star Wars related, but movies that are coming out on the streaming service, other shows and spinoffs coming off the streaming service, but these are all like $35, $45 million projects.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this one's different. Star Wars is more expensive off.
Star Wars, yeah. The what they're saying though too is the monthly price is going to be $7.99 is what the rumors going to be.
Yeah, I heard they wanted to start lower
Yes.
to bring in more subscribers. Yeah, makes sense.
So that is obviously I think I looked at my Netflix bill. I think mine's $13 now a month. Yeah. So that keeps going up a little bit. I do watch the heck out of Netflix, so I'm okay with it.
Right, but I will probably drop DirecTV now once this Disney streaming service comes out because that's all I need.
Yeah, probably.
It's got everything on.
But it really depends though, because so another thing about it is they're talking about what's going to be on there right away. The stuff that's on. Did I hear this right? I think the stuff that's on Netflix, is that right? Which is the Clone Wars,
Yeah.
maybe. Well, that's the new season obviously will be on there. But there's a lot of stuff apparently that doesn't actually get to them. Oh, maybe it's at the end of this year. Or I thought it was maybe at the end of 2019. But there may be an issue with the films. Did you hear about this? So the the films.
Well, but not with Netflix, but with Fox, right?
With TNT.
TNT. With
Turner.
Right.
So Turner has the rights, apparently, the broadcast rights through 2024.
Jeez, yeah.
So for another 5 years, technically they can't put the movies on.
Man, they're gonna pay a lot of money for those rights.
I know, right? So I don't know if they can break that, I don't know if that means every movie or just the ones that they have now. Mm-hmm. Like they're now airing Force Awakens on TNT. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they have a contract with all future movies up until then. I wouldn't think so, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Because Netflix has The Last Jedi, and I think I read that Solo was going to be on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
And Rogue One's on Netflix, I think, too, right?
Yep. I mean,
is Force Awakens on Netflix?
Nope.
So that means maybe it was up until Force Awakens.
Maybe.
And not the newer movies. Maybe they got smart because they knew they were going to do it and they didn't. So anyway, but it's possible that, unfortunately those movies may not be available on the streaming service for about 5 years, which means you're going to have to get up and put your Blu-ray in.
Yeah.
If you even have a player anymore, I guess Blu-ray player is going to be gone soon. I don't.
Well, it's all in other things now, like PlayStation.
If you have a
Xbox
or something like that, but I mean, some people might have a gaming system, right? So you might have Roku or Roku or.
I got Apple TV.
I mean, Apple TV. Yeah, I mean, you can't hook up Blu-ray player.
Big enough. Put the Blu-ray player right in there. They should do.
But I mean, that's the thing too. Is there this new thing about 4Ks Blu-rays are coming out? It's like I'm buying them anyway, just in case ever. But I'm only buying them if I want to technically collect them.
Yeah,
like I buy all the Marvel movies, I buy the Star Wars movies, I buy the DC movies, but that's really it. Everything else I buy digitally because they got 4K digital files now.
Yeah,
through Vudu, and even Netflix has 4K streaming.
Apple TV just came out with their 4K model.
Oh, wow. So there truly is no reason to buy a disc then.
No.
Even though I still think that they look better.
Yeah.
I actually still think a Blu-ray or I haven't even watched a 4K disc, but even a Blu-ray in 1080 looks better to me than a digital 1080.
Right.
So but is it going to make or break whether I watch it or not? It's like, no. I'm not gonna, the convenience of just, turning on my Xbox and watching it digitally is fine.
I've not bought a Blu-ray in a long time.
Well, that's what's weird, because I moved houses, this year.
Yeah.
I had 3 Blu-rays in my house, one in my bedroom, my living room, and my office.
Yeah.
I have yet to hook those up. I haven't hooked them up. And I don't even know if I should,
I had to dust off my Blu-ray player just because we were out of internet because of the storms for a week, so we couldn't watch anything.
Yeah.
So I'd go to Redbox, get a Blu-ray, and I was like, well, we can't do the PS4 is acting weird, so I was like, oh, I guess I'll bring my old Blu-ray player. Works just fine. It was the only one I've ever bought, and I bought it when Dark Knight came out.
Oh yeah,
so it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean you can get a Sony one for like $70 now. It's like
I spent like $300 on the
line. I know they were huge back then. So and I haven't even looked at 4K ones. I don't even know how much they're going for.
There's no need.
Yeah,
no need for me to do that.
So the big thing about the streaming service that they're talking about mainly is that the Favreau live action TV series. Now you did mention, there's articles out there right now that are talking about what is coming, not just from Star Wars, but all of Disney. Like, Marvel's going to have some shows on there. Of course, I think even Pixar's doing some original stuff on there.
Yeah, there's like a Monsters Inc. Spinoff.
Oh, that's going to be the streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
High School Musical is doing a thing.
Yes.
Into that, and then there's some other shows.
There's a ton of original shows.
Lady
and
the Tramp
there.
live action movie.
A lot of live action movies. Yes, they mentioned that.
They're cheap, which is good.
Yeah. So what's apparently not cheap? They're talking about this Favreau series now. Rumors coming out right now is that there is, there was talked about when he was interviewed for the during the Solo premiere that there was a 7-year proposal after. First, it came out that it was 7 years after Return, but it's not. It's 7 years after A New Hope, meaning that it's 3 years after Return of the Jedi. And then, if you don't want to talk about expanded canon, that puts it about a year after Aftermath.
Yes.
Jakku,
Battle Jakku.
Well, so 2 years after Battle of Jakku. Because Battle of Jakku is a year after.
This is 3 years after.
This is 3 years after.
Two. Yeah.
So this is 2 years after Aftermath.
Yeah.
All the Aftermath
So right
stuff.
on Last Shot, right? Because Ben Solo was 2.
Last Shot. Yeah, so this is
story.
roughly right around Last Shot. Correct. Mm-hmm. You're right. Now they're saying that not Star Wars, but this is the rumors, that Favreau's series is going to be 10 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And the 10 episodes are going to total $100 million.
Yeah.
Meaning $10 million an episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, first question is, does that seem expensive to you?
For a TV show, yes. However, I feel like that makes sense for a Star Wars show to make it right. Gosh, I thought I heard at one point what that Star Trek show cost. It wasn't $10 million an episode. It might have been more like the normal $5 million. I don't know, $5 to $7 million. But $10 million an episode for 10 episodes is good for, it's expensive for a TV show. However, I mean, it's 10 episodes. Gosh, yeah, that's expensive. If this was like a normal 22 episode, I mean, I don't know, but I think it's fine. I mean, it's gonna hopefully make it much better, a bigger budget to kind of play with it. Now, $100 million for 10 episodes, that's roughly maybe 10 hours, probably maybe a little less than 10 hours of material. That's great if you're talking like movie quality kind of stuff, movie caliber stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, what does $10 million get you for an episode in a Star Wars? Is that enough?
I would hope it's enough. Yeah, I think that should be. I mean, because that was a big issue with the old live action series that was kind of talked about years ago. That they were too expensive?
Yes.
At that point, that was way too expensive. Now it seems. I mean, hopefully the technology's easier and faster and better. I guess I don't know. Maybe not necessarily faster, but there's more involved with it to make it look better. So I would say $10 million an episode could hopefully pull off a very good quality Star Wars show. Yeah, so 10 of them for $100 million when like George Lucas was making the prequels for $115, $125 million.
Right.
For an hour and a half long. I don't know.
So let's put it in the context a little bit, because you're right when you bring up the fact that they, back in the early 2000s, well, mid 2000s, I guess, after Episode 3, when they were talking about a live action show, they kept saying it was around $10 million an episode, and it was too much. That was too much then.
Yeah.
So now it's not too much, apparently.
I mean,
but of course Disney's backing it now.
Yes.
There was George Lucas's pockets,
and now it's streaming service where you're not relying on ticket sales and stuff like that and merchandising to kind of make up for that money.
Well, a TV show you're relying on advertising.
Yeah, the streaming service though.
Streaming service, your subscriptions, right? Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm saying when he was thinking back then of doing a TV show,
that was expensive. Yeah,
it was $10 million an episode, and I would venture to guess back then there wasn't, like you said, there wasn't a streaming service, and the idea of doing just like 10 episode seasons wasn't reality then.
Right.
Then it was 22 episode seasons. So you're talking $220 million to do a season, which would have been ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. And you're not going to, I don't know how much you're going to make that up in advertising dollars, right?
Right.
So back then it doesn't make sense. Now this being a 10 episode, so when I think of $100 million, I start questioning like, well, to me that doesn't truly sound that expensive right now. I mean, again, like you're talking about Force Awakens or Last Jedi, that's easy $200 million, right?
Yeah.
But let's break it down. $10 million an episode. So what can you get? Now, I looked up, which kind of reveals these are the 10 most expensive movies or TV series on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, you want to take a wild guess? What's the most expensive
I thought I knew
Netflix
this.
show?
Netflix original. The
Yes.
Crown.
Wow, very
I
good.
think I heard that because period films are usually more expensive.
Very true. Very true. How much does a season cost to do a Crown?
I mean, I would say around $100 million, just because that's pretty expensive to me.
$130 million.
That seems very expensive.
Now that's 12 episodes, roughly. They usually do 12 or 13, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
So
I'll
that's
look
about
that up.
$10 million an episode. Almost a little over $10 million an episode.
Yeah.
You have your second tier, which is the Get Down. That's $120 million.
Interesting.
Sense8 is $108 million a season.
Stranger Things wasn't. I mean, I feel like that had a very.
They're not even
indie
in the top
feel.
10.
Jeez,
Marco, well, think about, you're not paying those actors very high.
Well,
you know?
the Crown doesn't have. At that point, they didn't have a whole lot of A-listers.
Yeah.
You had Matt Smith, who was Doctor Who, and John Lithgow, who was pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
So it's besides those two guys, I can't think of them having too huge of an actors. But
Number 5
It's not.
was House of Cards at $60 million a season. Orange is the New Black, which is one of their big shows, $50 million a season. Now, here's what's surprising. You get into the Daredevils,
yeah,
the Jessica Jones, the Luke Cages, which is Disney, right? Disney owns that. They're paying, which is honestly, I was very surprised. They're in the 8 to 10 range on the ranking. 8 through 10, Daredevil, Luke Cage. They're only paying $40 million a season.
good for them.
That's very good.
and there's not a lot of.
I mean, it's a
the
lot of
big visual
practical.
effects.
Yeah, it's a lot of practical. They do a lot of practical effects.
And I was just looking really quick. The Crown, both seasons, season 1, season 2, are both 10-episode seasons. So that's $13 million episodes.
So that's even
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
Have you watched any of it?
Oh, I watched it all. It's a great
Oh,
show.
really?
Yeah.
So is there a lot of visual effects in it?
I would say that I don't know of what there are, but just because it's a period film in 1960s London, that I would think they did.
Oh, this is
set-
1960s.
It's Queen Elizabeth in her
When she's
20s,
yeah,
and
okay.
kind of early 30s. So I imagine they did a lot of set extensions of old buildings and how it used to look back then. I would assume, as they
Right.
normally do with old films like that. I can imagine that's where probably a lot of it came from. I mean, it's not like they're using pop music. Like, I don't know. I think the Get Down might have done some of that, but not a lot of big actors. It's the costumes, it's the props, it's the cars, and the decorations, and probably a lot of set extensions for the Crown. So I can see that.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Now, another show to put into context is Game of Thrones, right? One of the most popular shows out there right now. What I've read is the standard budget for an episode through the years have been $10 million an episode. Now they do, I think they do
that's the
10
standard.
episode seasons. The final season, which is 6 episodes, apparently they've upped the budget to $15 million an episode.
Goodness.
But that's only because I've heard they're longer.
Longer episodes?
I heard the 6 episodes are a little over an hour each.
Yeah.
So that would make sense.
Yeah.
You're shooting more, you're doing
Yeah.
more. So for one, let's talk about $10 million an episode. Length of these things.
Almost like an hour. Let's just say an average.
Do you think they're an hour?
Probably. I mean,
They got to be
50.
between 45 and an hour, at
Yeah.
least.
like if you go, I was shocked because that Stranger Things were somewhere between 45 to 52 minutes. Like they weren't. To me, they were short episodes for like a Netflix type of show. But like Daredevil, those shows, I feel like those are closer to a full hour.
Some of them are, yeah.
Yeah, some
they're,
of them are-
they're between 50 and 60.
Yeah. So I would say around average, I would just say even an hour. For
Okay.
these live action shows, like $10 million for an hour worth of video. Of
Yes.
of a film.
So
to
10,
speak.
so 10, let's just say 10 hours, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a 2.5 hour movie, I mean, that's 4 movies, right? That's 4 movies that you're doing for $100 million? That doesn't seem a lot to me.
Sounds like it should be a shoestring budget, but I mean, they make it work. We have Game of Thrones with the Star Trek show. They obviously make it work. They squeeze out that money. Which
I know.
Maybe you're not paying for as much marketing, I guess, or merchandising. I don't know. Like you're not. There's got to be something you're losing.
Well, I think
your distribution, I suppose, putting it in the theaters, putting it as opposed to
most of the budgets when you see a movie budget don't include the advertising, the promotion and advertising. They call it P&A, right? Promotion and advertising. So whenever you see a budget for $200 million, that's literally what it took to make the movie. Now, usually you put on what I think a quarter of that usually is. A quarter of the budget you can actually count towards what they're going to put. So a $200 million movie will put about $50 million in advertising, right? Mm-hmm. So then you're up to $250. Sometimes, movies like Avengers or, something huge, they may do half the budget just in advertising because they need to get people in the seats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the big question, like, because how often have you seen Netflix advertising?
I mean,
not on Netflix.
I see it. I still watch a lot of streaming channels though. I don't watch a lot of cable. But like when I'm watching normal TV through DirecTV Now, I will occasionally, very rarely, I will see a Netflix.
Yeah, commercial. I will too. I feel like I see them more and more.
Yeah.
Meaning they're spending the advertising dollars. Now, obviously, I went back to DirecTV. So, of course, my wife's got HGTV on sometimes or E or something like that. And I do catch, like Orange is the New Black is promoting, I think, their new series coming out.
Yeah.
Iron Fist has got some ads out there coming because they had a new season coming out. I definitely saw a lot of House of Cards ads, I remember. Stuff like that. So, yeah, I do think, I don't know. I'm assuming Disney is going to be doing a lot of advertising for this thing.
Yeah, but they can do it on their own channels and ABC. They don't have cable, I feel like, so it's probably won't be as expensive for them to market. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when that starts. Like, because I know DC is coming out with their DC Universe streaming service this month, and I feel like I've only seen the ramping of that advertising just in the last couple months.
I've seen it a lot on Instagram.
Yes, but longer than 2 months ago. You've heard
probably
about
not
it.
Longer than
you've
2
heard
months.
about it, but now they've since Comic-Con especially they've released footage.
Yeah,
trailer of Titans and stuff like that. So I'm wondering at what point do we start seeing like a full ad about and what original stuff we're getting. I mean, Celebration's obviously because think about it. I think D23 is not till July or August of next year, which is around the time this thing should be kicking off here soon. They say fall of 2019. So maybe D23 is like the place that they release a ton of stuff about the streaming service. Celebration will probably have a lot of Favreau stuff, which starts shooting this fall. So, though 2019 is going to be a ton. I think there's going to be a lot of ads and a lot of stuff. But just the context of the $100 million to me right now it doesn't feel like it's that much money.
Yeah, but that's why I don't know if you should think of it that way. Just because so many shows have done it, so somehow they have a formula that works for television. What doesn't work,
but that's what I'm saying. Do you think because of that budget, it's going to be a Daredevil series and not able to be the Star Wars series you're thinking of? You know what I mean?
I think we'll still get space stuff.
And how much is that handcuffing Favreau in writing this thing?
I think it's definitely restricting your budget. I mean, you just can't do as many space battles. You can't. I feel like maybe it may allow him to push him to do more practical aliens. Not CG mocap aliens, which will be fine.
Right.
Maybe he wants that. Maybe he likes to having that restriction so he can make it feel more real, like a Rogue One.
Right.
Which will be awesome. Judging by the rumor, though, of what the plot is about, it doesn't sound like he's going to be doing too many aliens. really. It sounds like it's mostly humanoid characters, but
Did we mention that yet?
I don't think we talked about
Go ahead.
planets yet.
Well, then go ahead.
I think making Star Wars put this out initially, and they talked about how their sources say the Favreau show is about Mandalore. You said by post-Imperial Mandalore kind of rebuilding and, bringing it into the New Republic era, which sounds great.
Well, because Mandalore seems like it's always in battle.
Yeah.
They've got clans on there. It's always in wars.
Yeah, they known from what we know from Rebels, like part of the clan sided with the Imperials, and a lot of them tried to rebel against it. Sabine tried to, she led that, and her family led that quite a bit, and that battle against the Empire. But, well, as we saw at the end, we saw Lothal at the end of Rebels, but yeah, who knows? I don't know. I mean, I would think that Mandalore is recovering just like the rest of the galaxy, but it's just everybody loves that rich culture of the Mandalorians. That's always been a fan favorite. I mean, it started off with Boba Fett, obviously, and just kind of little nuggets here and there. Then Knights of the Republic kind of fueled that a little bit. You saw Mandalore, and then Clone Wars brought it to like almost full blown status. Like, this is the world of the Mandalorians, and we saw the planet, we saw battles, and we got to introduce all these new characters, and then Rebels build on that world even more. And that's like people still cannot get enough, I feel like, of the Mandalorian culture. So this is great that Favreau is doing this, and I would think that he's working closely with Filoni, because Filoni seems like he's the preeminent scholar right now of Mandalorians.
I feel like he's created that world.
Exactly. He worked with George Lucas a lot in Clone Wars, but he's made it really his own, it seems like, with these these past few years. So I would think that Filoni's consulting him a lot and giving him material and all that stuff to work with, and I would think that we would see some new characters, but not a lot of aliens on Mandalore from what we've seen. They're all human. They look like humans. They look like normal humans. So it's, you'll get in some special effects, obviously, because it's Star Wars, and we'll have blasters, you'll have jetpacks and people flying around and all that stuff, and spaceships and whatnot. But I can't imagine it's going to be. But I guess because of the budget, I can't imagine you're going to planet after planet after planet, seeing all these different environments and all these different creatures and whatnot, things exploding in space. So that will probably tone down.
Yeah.
I would think this is a much more intimate kind of a show. If it's all about Mandalore, if it's 10 episodes, that's plenty of material to focus and stay on Mandalore and to work with, like, building the new government, building up the government, all this stuff. So, I mean, that seems exciting. So it seems like a very isolated corner of the galaxy kind of thing.
Yes.
Which is very exciting. And I think that's going to be great material to work off, because you're not necessarily, it doesn't sound like he's bound by any of the movies, anything. This is new territory. This is brand new material that he can do his own world building.
Yes. Yeah, and if you think 3 years after Return of the Jedi, I mean, at that point, the remnants of the Empire should be gone.
Right.
There may
As far
be
as we
some.
know,
There may be some. I mean, I couldn't. I was thinking, I just couldn't imagine there being a lot of stormtroopers around anymore. Right. There could be some Star Destroyers here and there trying to salvage something. I don't know. We don't. But at this point, the treaty has been signed.
Yeah.
Mas Amedda signs the treaty. The Empire has fled to the unknown regions, which is where they basically rebuild the First Order. So, the question is what characters possibly come up that maybe we have seen or know? Now, the biggest one that comes to mind is Bo-Katan, right?
Right.
Bo-Katan, if you remember, is the sister of Duchess Satine, which was a big character in the Clone Wars, a somewhat love interest that Obi-Wan could have experienced.
Yeah.
Bo-Katan came back and was featured more in Rebels. And I hope everybody's seen it, but I'm going to spoil it. But the end of that series, of the Rebel series, there was a lot of Mandalorian storylines because Sabine was going back and helping kind of settle the war that was going on, the Empire invading, all that stuff. Well, in the end, she basically relinquished the Darksaber and the control to Bo-Katan. So she was in charge of Mandalore in a sense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
She was the leader of the clans. They all kind of at that point. I think they all kind of agreed to not.
A little truce.
Almost like a little truce
to fight
between the
Empire.
families.
Yeah.
So, what happens between then and now is obviously a big question. How does the Empire treat Mandalore? How do they treat her once they take over? They've already taken over. I mean, they're already the Empire, but now that the rebels are the rebellion is around, are they focused on Mandalore anymore? How much are they taking control of Mandalore from then on? Do you think Bo-Katan shows up in this series?
I think it's perfect opportunity to bring her in. You've never seen her on screen. You can do a likeness to how she is on. So I mean, it's perfect opportunity. I don't unless if she's not in it as a starring or supporting role in the show, I would say she's at least got to be referenced.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All those people, like her, the Death Watch, Pre Vizsla, those guys, House of Ren, like that's got to be still, I would think, a big family, a big clan. Conquer Dawn, all this stuff. I feel like I have Darksaber has to all this factor in because that's such part of their culture.
Sabine,
I don't know. It's so hard because I would love to see.
her family,
her house, her
mom, her brother,
the Ren
house,
family should still be there.
Yeah, right.
But what she's doing, I don't know if Filoni's like, don't touch on her. I've got Sabine.
Yeah,
I'm waiting. I'm doing my show with her.
Right.
Don't bring her in, please. Or maybe he's found a way. You can use her. Maybe it just doesn't know because we saw her at the end of Rebels, and that who knows when that shot took place at the end of Rebels, where he saw her more.
It was post Return of the Jedi, I think. Right.
Post Return of the Jedi, but we don't know if it's post Jakku. I think it was pre Jakku. Was my thought.
That's possible.
Because Sabine at the end of the show was kind of rattling off all these highlights of the saga, like the Battle of Endor. I think the Battle of Endor was the last big battle she mentioned.
Yes.
I would think. Don't know why they wouldn't say Jakku if it didn't already happen, since that was the last huge battle, the end of the Empire. So, to me, Sabine might be gone during the time of the Favreau show, trying to find Ezra, or maybe she's already back from her trip and that's already settled, and so she can. That's the thing. We may not see her because if we see her, then that kind of tells us okay, she might have survived whatever trip she was on with Ezra. She survived that. Now she's back. So then if they went back and did a show with her, once again, you're saying, okay, well, she's going to survive every single episode in this new animated show because we know that she survives and she's in Jon Favreau's live action show. I don't know. I think there's so many things. I feel like she's got to be off limits for this to me. Unless Filoni went ahead and said, I want to do a Sabine show that takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe Filoni is secretly executive producing this
I wouldn't
series,
be surprised. Yeah.
And he's given Favreau the reins to
Sabine's. If at the end of this show, maybe it leads into a live action Sabine and Ahsoka rescuing a live action No, that will not happen. That will not happen.
You don't think that? I
don't know. That's so much.
I'm pretty
cross media.
I don't know about Sabine, to be honest, but I'm about 100% sure we are eventually going to get Ahsoka in live action somehow.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Either in a movie or in a TV show. She is going to be. She's too popular now.
At this point, I feel like it's got to be a live action show.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you brought Maul into Solo, so it's obviously you don't care about bringing TV show kind of characters back into the movies, but still, it's Ahsoka. We've never seen her before. Maul, we have, so you do know who Maul is when you see him. You should, but we've never seen Ahsoka. So there's some you got to have some kind of context.
The only character that has made the leap, right, is Saul Guerrero.
Yes, but you didn't need to know anything. I mean, you could probably try to find a story where you're reintroducing Ahsoka. I mean, you have to do it with any movie, but there's still so much backstory with Ahsoka.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you would be losing something or be putting too much exposition in a film with Ahsoka. So
I agree.
A TV show, you're still in that same audience, but you don't need to really reintroduce her too much. But live action show would be, I think, perfect
for Ahsoka.
Yes, for Ahsoka.
Yeah. Okay, so last thing I wanted to mention about this was, now that we talked about it being Mandalore, I mean, is this, I had struggled with trying to tell you about this earlier, but it's like, I just got to thinking, like, is this a story that is going to resonate with Star Wars fans? Because, Clone Wars obviously was a huge bridge between episodes 2 and 3, and you had our characters in there, Anakin, Obi-Wan. Rebels, eventually we got Mothma, Bail, we saw Palpatine, Vader, you got that connection, and then the whole birth of a rebellion. So these series have connected to the movies. Resistance coming out is connecting familiar characters, Poe. Yeah. This right now is the first series, if I can recall, or obviously we can figure out. This is the first series that, as of right now, seems like it's not leading to anything. It's really, like you said, a separate part of the galaxy that we haven't explored yet, besides in animation. Is this the first? I mean, it seems like it's the first step towards new stories, new characters, stuff that we're going to get from, like a Rian Johnson in his movies and the Game of Thrones guys in their movies. I don't know. Is that what you feel like is happening? And then is that going to be well received?
I think this is going to be a breath of fresh air for a lot of fans. Hopefully this will restore some fatigue, because like Rogue One resonated a lot with fans because it was so grounded, and it was, to us it was missing Jedi, still had the Force, but it felt different and it felt fresh to a lot of fans. I think that's why they loved it, and I think a lot of fans are wanting more of that underworld type of feel. I think definitely this is a great chance to break away from the same old storylines of Empire and Rebels, because Empire, for all intents and purposes, does not exist in this current timeline.
Correct.
Rebels is now the New Republic, so they're not rising up. They're there, and they're the new government now. Now, whether or not this is going to be, I would imagine, because it's Mandalore and the history of Mandalore, that it will be a very action-packed type of show, and a lot of combat, a lot of fighting. But I think there's got to be an element of that political side that a lot of people hate that part of Star Wars. But there's got to be the Clone Wars TV show is chock full of politics from Mandalore, along with a lot of battles. It's just the nature of the beast in a way, and I think that there's got to be an element to the story where the Mandalorians are trying to assimilate into the New Republic, and where do they fit? Like, is that whole populist and centrist thing established at this point that we saw in Bloodline? Is that now?
I think it is.
So where do they fit in that? And I think that's got to be a good conflict there already, the politics side. But definitely, there's going to be a lot of awesome battles. I would think Mandalore's flying around and shooting, and dark saber going all over the place. That's around. So a lot of fans, like guys that we know, that I think are more drawn to the Rogue One type of Star Wars movies. I think this is going to resonate a lot, this show, with fans, and definitely a fresh look of Star Wars. And I think Favreau, from what I've read, he's very excited to explore this somewhat new corner of the galaxy. I was looking at a Star Wars map here just to figure out where Mandalore was on the map. It is on the Outer Rim. It's an Outer Rim planet. So just, again, physically saying, like, this is an outskirts of the galaxy. This is... It's close to Yavin, which I didn't know. Really, it's closest to Dathomir. So for those of you who know the galaxy and know these planets, if that gives you an understanding, like, this is not unknown region, but this is part of that Outer Rim territory where not a lot of the Empire is present, or wouldn't have been necessarily.
It's a lot more settled than those planets were.
It is, yeah.
Yavin and
you got Dantooine Outer Rim. You got Geonosis Outer Rim. Tatooine's Outer Rim.
Yeah, a lot of these are remote. So I mean, Mon Cali is out there, but that's underwater.
Felucia, Moraband. Yeah. So this is it's a remote planet. So So if that gives you any inclination, I feel like that physical geographic location will make it isolated from all the other movies and all the other stories that we've seen so far, which to me is a good sign. but because more Mandalore has always been very isolated because they have their own government, they have their own military, they have their own everything because it's just the culture of the planet. So, it's perfect. I think it's a perfect way to start.
I think it
your
is
live
too.
action. It's the kind of new, fresh stories of Star Wars.
But I am the only thing I will say. I'm definitely excited for it. And I think Favreau. I do think Favreau is a great choice to do this. Being a huge Star Wars fan that he is, being a great storyteller. I mean, he's given us some great films. I think the only thing I would say that I want is I still want this, even though I don't think it's going to be in this. I still want the Force.
Yeah.
I still want Jedi.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen in this series.
The only way I can see them working it in is the origin of the Darksaber. If they bring that back in and they explore that a little bit more, because I believe that was probably the only Mandalorian that was Force sensitive as a Jedi, that Mandalorian. So, yeah, but you're right. It probably, again, like Rogue One, it might be even more void of the Force, potentially.
Yes.
Which, again, I think a lot of fans want that, but a lot of other fans, the camp won't want that. But I think they'll still get good stories out of it. It'll just be missing that core fundamental Star Wars element, which is a great point of which is I think is a whole other episode that I want to bring Cody on. I think I've said this a bunch, but he's with all these busy schedules. What makes a Star Wars story a Star Wars story in the general sense, not in the movie sense of Star Wars stories, but does it have to have the Force to be a true Star Wars story? That kind of question, that kind of topic where does Star Wars stand on its own if it has no like Solo? Would that have benefited if it incorporated some aspect of the Force and some Jedi? I don't know. Probably not, but maybe it would have.
I mean,
it's just
you kind of had it with Maul.
That's true. That's the only thing.
Connection.
Which that turned a lot of people on. Turned a lot of people off because where has he been all this time, kind of thing. But no, that question of what can Star Wars stand on its own without the nostalgia of these old characters and without the Force kind of as a backbone of some sort. So, I mean, right now I'm just putting it out there as food for thought, but I definitely think that's
I just think it was, I just think it was, in the original trilogy was built around the Force.
Yeah.
And the prequels were built around the Jedi and the Force. And even this new trilogy obviously it's still Skywalker, but it's all about the Force,
Right.
And Rogue One, Solo, there were separate stories that we didn't get, but Rogue One did in the underlining of with Chirrut and with her mom. It's like there were a lot of Force mentions in there, you know what I mean, even though they weren't Force sensitive.
She even said, "May the Force be with us." I mean, she had the whole
I mean, and I love that. Love that. I wish there was more I wish there was a little more of that in Solo. Either Kira had something that talked about the Force. I mean, here's the thing: is she does. Well, no, I'm sorry, she doesn't. But in that book, Most Wanted, there's a Rodian that is with them, ends up getting killed. That Rodian, I can't remember his name, but they were always talking about the Force.
Gotcha.
And I really like that part of that book. So anyway, that's why I'm always going to push for. And you can do a million of these stories. Go back to pre-episode 1, or even that time between episode 1 and episode 2, because there's 10 years there. Do some Jedi stories, the Master Padawan stories. You can pick anybody you want. That you could be new ones because we don't know them all.
Yeah, 10,000 Jedi out there.
Yeah, they're just doing missions, and they're coming across a planet that is in turmoil, and they're helping. I mean, it's
like
there's massive storylines, and people would go I think just fans would go crazy for that because you're getting everything you get out of the Force. You're getting Jedi. You're getting lightsabers.
Yeah, it's Jedi in their heyday, man. I mean, why would you not? I mean, as we talked about in our last episode, it's interesting that's where some of the stories, a lot of the stories now are going with the books and some of these other references that are being made. That would be this is a good opportunity.
Yes, I just feel like that in the original trilogy, it was always that myth. What were the Jedi? Who were the Jedi?
Yeah.
Now that we've seen them in the prequels, and of course, yes, there were a lot of backlash of the films itself, but I don't think everybody complained that we saw Jedis.
Right.
But now, in this era right now, ever since Disney got it, I just feel like they're still kind of keeping him as this mythological being. You know what I mean? Like, we're still just seeing glimpses of him.
Yeah. My story.
But we're getting,
yeah.
you think we're getting there?
I think we are. I think
Okay.
as I kind of carry on my thought as we ended last
Yeah.
episode is like, finally, it seems like the prequels are not taboo anymore.
That's right.
And that
That's
era
right.
is being re-explored and reintroduced in what some fans would probably say the proper way.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And I hope once episode 9 concludes that the Jedi get reestablished.
Yeah.
So that future stories have Jedi in them.
yeah, you gotta keep that. You can't. There's no.
They can't
way.
be gone forever.
I think. Yeah. Again, that
Right?
question is: can Star Wars be without the
Right.
Force? You can't.
Yeah,
You can't.
you can't.
You can't.
I agree. Okay.
Like, we can dive more into it, but like,
Yeah,
come
no,
on.
no. Yeah, no way.
Like the Jedi must end. Like, no, it won't.
No, Luke. Sorry, Luke. I don't agree with you.
But
Okay.
no, I would love just really quick, like thinking like a storyline. Like think of a whole show. It's like Harry Potter but Jedi in the Academy. You
Yeah.
know? It's
Oh,
like-
gosh,
like
yes.
kids,
A new generation.
new generation of kids in the Academy. How what the
New
Academy's
Jedi
like.
Order series.
It's a good title.
Where did I get that? It just popped in
Yeah,
there.
just popped it. I'm gonna do it. Copyright immediately. No, I'm not gonna worry about
That
anything.
is
Yeah.
perfect.
I think that's a good series would be something like that.
That would be a
Anyways.
good series.
It just came to me.
Harry Potter the Jedi.
Yeah, call him Larry Totter,
Yeah.
the Jedi who survived. No, the boy who lived. Oh, no.
Yeah. That is hilarious. Okay. That is great. I love it. That's hopefully hopefully beyond episode 9 we get back the Jedi come back because
I think so.
they were around for thousands and thousands of years.
You can't end Last Jedi with this idea of hope without. I think that has to end with Jedi being back.
I agree.
His idea of hope. Last shot was a Force sensitive kid.
Yes.
Like, what are you trying to say there? Besides, they're coming back.
Right.
They're out there somewhere. We got to just find them and bring them back, to the world or to the galaxy. So I don't know. My thought.
Yeah, and hopefully, like Luke said, against what Luke said, hopefully Rey is not the last Jedi.
Yeah.
So
I will not be the last Jedi.
she's the last Jedi only because she's the only one.
Yeah, she's been trained.
Yeah.
So that's somewhat been trained. So.
All right, so good talks about the streaming service Favreau series. Of course, we'll have more to talk about that as news comes out about that. Again, we're heading to Celebration in April. Tickets are still on sale there. So April in Chicago, Star Wars Celebration. It just seems like 2019 is shaping up to be an incredible year. Not that 2018 isn't, but just so much coming out in 2019. Still surprised we haven't gotten much of Resistance at all.
Yeah.
That thing's debuting in apparently 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
So I have no idea what they're waiting
That's
for.
weird. Yeah.
But as soon as we get that, we'll talk about it, obviously. So appreciate everybody checking us out, InsideTheForce.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And he's Kryptonian1138. I am D. Cottingham21. Give us a shout, and thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week for Case Cooley.
Would it help if I got out and pushed? It might.
That is so
Were you
crazy.
just thinking that?
Well, the other night I happened to watch our Star Wars episode of Seaton.
Oh, really?
I did.
Random, yeah.
And
That
at the
was-
end,
yeah.
that line is at the end of that show.
Yeah, there you go.
That is hilarious. All right.
So fun. So fun. That was a fun
It
episode.
might.
It might.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great week. He's Casey.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave. May the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to Inside the Force, a Star Wars podcast hosted by David Cottingham and Casey Cooley. For more shows, additional content, articles, and the latest Star Wars news, please visit InsideTheForce.com. Inside the Force. For the Force, then all of us.